Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners pregame podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. My name's Brandon Drum, Parker Thune, Travis Davison, aka Grill Boy. On the scene, OU Texas Red River shootout. I will not call it rivalry anymore. One, because it's too hard to say. Two, because I grew up with Red River Shootout, folks, and I'm going to stick with that. So therefore, that's what it will be called henceforth from this time forward. But OU Texas, the best time of the year as far as football season goes, outside of the playoffs or the SEC title, assuming Oklahoma makes it that far. Guys, 3-2 Texas. 5-0 Oklahoma. How the turntables have turned, as the great Michael Scott once said. Nothing?
Oh, was that the end?
That was the end of my monologue. I'm done.
I mean, hey, it's music to the ears of any Sooner fan. This is kind of exactly how you drew it up, right? This was best case scenario for Oklahoma, and this was worst case scenario for Texas going into the season. We talked about it, Brandon. Like in an ideal world, in an absolutely ideal world, Oklahoma would be 5-0, Texas would be 3-2. That was the ceiling for OU naturally. That obviously kind of seemed like the floor for Texas because you didn't figure they were going to lose to UTEP or Sam Houston State or what have you. So, man, this is kind of just how you drew it up as an Oklahoma fan. And then going into this weekend, man, we've talked about it throughout the week. The Sooners have the chance to sink Texas's season. Like it's over for Texas if they don't win this football game. This is their last chance to salvage their status as a college football playoff contender. If they don't win this game this weekend, it's a wrap, man. You're playing in some obscure bowl game at the end of the season. And meanwhile, Oklahoma's right there in the thick of it for a college football playoff berth. And they're probably jumping right back into the national top 5 after dropping to 6 last week. And it may not be too much longer before the Sooners start getting first place votes in the AP poll. We're not far off from having that conversation with this Oklahoma team. And so, man, again, exactly how you drew it up, exactly what you hoped and imagined if you were an Oklahoma fan going into the season. Now it's about executing. It's about this team going down to the Cotton Bowl this Saturday and beating a team that they should beat and being able to take care of business, control what they can control, handle what they should handle, and walk out of there with a victory.
Travis?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not buying the, God love them, the Josh Pate, Texas is backed into a corner, they're desperate, and Oklahoma would just like to have this win. No, like this is a big game for Oklahoma as well. It's always a big game for Oklahoma. And I think people maybe think they know a lot about the rivalry, have been to the games, they still don't understand it. Oklahoma wants to end Texas's season. They're their chief recruiting rival. There are going to be recruits there that have both Oklahoma and Texas offers. So they want to put on a show. They want to end their season. And also, if Oklahoma can somehow push Texas into the question season, the doubt season a little bit early, where Oklahoma has lived the past couple off seasons, right? Yeah. I mean, we talked this season and Brent Venables on the hot seat entering the year. They've got to do some things. They need to win now because this staff is coaching for their jobs. We heard that over and over this offseason. Now, I don't think that Steve Sarkisian by any means is on the hot seat. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I think that if they lose this game, you will start to hear very loud questions from Austin, Texas about, hey, we can't seem to score in big games, right? What's up with Steve Sarkisian? We've got him every 5-star he wants on offense and on defense, but on offense, we've got him back-to-back perfectly rated quarterback recruits, and he's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. I mean, what else do we need to do, right? This guy has longtime struggles in the red zone, especially in big games. Down by the goal line, he really struggles. Like, you'll start to hear those things come out about Steve Sarkisian. And when you start to drop those little seeds of doubt in, that's when those can grow into bigger stories. So if you have doubts about, hey, we were told Arch Manning was going to come and kind of, Steve Sarkisian was going to hitch his offensive or red zone woes onto the cape of Arch Manning. Well, that hasn't gone incredibly well so far. And I know a lot of people are trying to rewrite the story of actually Arch played great against Florida. I rewatched the tape and Arch actually played fantastic against Florida. This is the guy like, all right, relax, everybody, relax. So I just think that Oklahoma has a chance to do damage to Texas's future, their reputation with recruits, while also springboarding their own reputation and the opinions of recruits all in one Saturday afternoon. So 2 birds, 1 stone here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot to talk about on this pregame podcast. Obviously, we're going to talk about that. John Mateer. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the biggest mismatches, which I think the most glaring mismatch is the OU defensive line versus the Texas offensive line, which, maybe that's just recency bias because of the Florida game. I don't know how we want to look at that, but it's something we're going to dive into. There's some other matchups that we need to dive into, but before we get into all of that, Parker, let's thank our sponsors, and then we will dive completely into this podcast.
Let's do it. Riverwind Casino, folks, has been the OKC area's premier gaming destination for nearly 2 decades now, almost 3,000 electronic games, table games, bars, and dining options, plus the best live music in the metro. It's no surprise that Riverwind is always a good time, and they are our presenting sponsor here on the Under the Visor podcast. Also, a nod to Janiking, the greatest team to ever clean, and a proud partner of OU Insider, as well as OU Athletics, delivering spotless results from stadiums to any size business across the country. So figure out which of their solutions is best for you or your business by going to janiking.com. That's JANIKING.com. And finally, folks, it is time for me to introduce you to the last wallet you will ever buy. And that is the Ridge wallet. Folks, for years, no doubt, if you're like me, you've dealt with big, bulky leather wallets that can feel like a brick in your pocket at times. Well, if you're watching on the YouTube side, check this sucker out. Look at how sleek, look at how compact that is. Folks, this unique, slim, modern design holds up to 12 cards plus cash. It's got RFID blocking technology, and all Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is, again, the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Moreover, with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. Losing your wallet, of course, can be the worst. Now, Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. Now, for a limited time, our listeners are going to get 10% off at Ridge by using code OU Insider at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use code OU Insider, and you're all set. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
All right. Let's start with Mateer. I think that's what everybody's going to want to talk about. John Mateer. Obviously, the availability report came out as we record this on a Thursday morning. It came out last night at about 7:10 p.m. on Wednesday, I believe October 8th. He's questionable. Exactly what everybody thought he was going to be, right?
Yep.
There is zero chance they were going to list him as probable. There was zero chance they were going to list him as doubtful. There was doubly zero chance they were going to list him as out. They are playing the gamesmanship all the way up like they did in 2022 with Dylan Gabriel to the starting kickoff. He will be out there throwing a football during pregame, whether he's playing or not. So, having said all that, boys, odds, chances, percentages that you all think Mateer's playing, I will say, I'm going to get everybody's hopes up. I'll say 70%.
I would go higher than that.
There
I would
you
say
go,
80%.
Parker. Thank you.
I would say 80%. I mean, look, and here's why I would go that high is because, well, obviously, for those that have followed along throughout the week on OUinsider.com, we've dropped some intel about John Mateer's
Yep,
rehab
all week.
process that makes me optimistic on its surface, but also the way that the line in Las Vegas has moved over the last several days. Whereas we sit here recording this podcast, it's swung 5 points in Oklahoma's favor since it opened. 5 points. Vegas always knows something.
What is it this
And
morning?
well, last I checked, it was Oklahoma minus 1.5.
Gotcha.
Um, Vegas always knows something, especially when it comes to injuries. And the only logical conclusion you can draw from this line moving 5 points in favor of Oklahoma from opening at I believe, Texas minus 3.5 is that there is renewed confidence amongst the odds makers that John Mateer is going to play.
Yeah, I look, at the end of the day, he's doing so many things right now, and there's protocols that he's got to pass. He's squeezing stress balls. They have Nerf balls that they've bought him to squeeze to strengthen his grip. He's obviously throwing passes as well. And as Brent said, how can you play if you haven't gone good on good? Well, let's put it to you like this. How do all players play on Saturdays when they haven't gone good on good? Because they do mental reps the whole week. Anything you do with this offense, John Mateer has already done at some point in time in a 3-year he's been running it. So you're not throwing anything new at John Mateer. If there was one player on the roster, particularly the offensive side of the ball, that could go all the way up to Friday, Parker, without really throwing a pass to a teammate or running a route or doing whatever inside this offense, it's the guy that's ran it for 3 years. I mean, I get the wording that Brent's doing, and he's been really cute with it. We're going to assume, you know what assume does, right? That he's not going to play. What else did he say? The good on good stuff. Everything that Brent has said, and God bless him, I love it. I love his sassiness. I love his intensity this week. It's throwing echoes of Bob Stoops during OU Texas week back in the day, where he would always get feisty with the media every OU Texas week. And that's where you kind of knew that he was on a different level of intensity for that week. And so was the team. And that's why they always whooped up on Texas. But I don't buy it. Travis, do you buy it?
Well, one thing on the media feistiness, I'd be feisty too if I were Brent. Here I am trying to have a little bit of gamesmanship, and I got my own media just, making a spectacle, an absolute circus out of whether or not we're practicing indoors. You know how many random Texas fans or Texas staff know when Oklahoma does and when Oklahoma doesn't practice indoors? Well, now they do. It's just interesting. Like it be your own, man, be your own people. Making such a circus out of the John Mateer, the gamesmanship around it. But I think a couple of things when it comes to his odds to play, and I'm actually, Brandon, you thought you were being bullish at 70%. Parker comes over the top at 80. I'm like we're on the bat. I'm at 90%, 95%. Because
Hello.
here's the thing. I think you guys are looking at the wrong odds. I think when you look at odds changing from, +3 to -1.5, yeah, that's great. That shows that something has changed, right? And we all assume it's the John Mateer change, right? Well, you just go to his Heisman odds. He was +4,000 a week ago. He's +1,000 now. So I know that nothing else is baked into Heisman odds other than that player's availability and what they project for him to do. So I think that is the odds change you need to look at, the +4,000 to +1,000 in a week. And I think that shows you that Vegas thinks that John Mateer is absolutely playing. And Brandon, you mentioned, Dylan Gabriel in 2022, he'll definitely be on the sideline like Dylan was, but Dylan had to be cleared through concussion protocol. Like
Right.
that is a black and white thing. If you can't get cleared, ain't no toughing it out with
Yeah.
the OU medical staff with a concussion. John Mateer has the availability to say, "Hey, look, I'm going to tough it out. If it's a pain tolerance thing, I'm going to go. If it's a grip strength thing, I'm going to go." From what my conversations with different orthopedic specialists and whatnot, based on the procedure that was done, it's not an elevated risk of injury to put him out. I see this take all day, right? Is, well, I don't want to risk him the rest of the year and put him out against Texas. I don't think that's what we're dealing with. And anytime somebody steps on a football field, you're risking them for the rest of the year. So I think it's a situation where, hey, look, he played 3.5 quarters against Auburn with a broken bone in his hand. He's recovering from that. If he can throw the ball effortlessly, if he can command the offense, if it's a pain tolerance thing and he's good to go, fine. This is not a Tyrese Halliburton. If he goes, he could be out the following year if he just steps on it wrong, or if he grips the ball wrong. That's not what this is. So we need to stop acting like, well, Oklahoma is really putting all their eggs in this basket because they could lose John Mateer for this year and next if something goes wrong. Simply just not the case. If it's a pain tolerance and grip strength thing, I think John Mateer is out there on Saturday.
So I guess having said that, do you think they have a package for Hawkins just to have a running package or anything for him to kind of throw a wrinkle in there? We're gonna see something we haven't seen out of this offense this week. Both sides of the ball, by the way. I think Sarkisian's gonna throw out some interesting wrinkles as well. But thoughts on that type of, I guess, if you want to call it gamesmanship or scheming, do we think you'll see a Hawkins type deal? Do you think, I mean, I'm trying to gather in my head what would be an interesting wrinkle for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, Ben
Well, I mean,
Arbuckle, Ben Arbuckle has put two quarterbacks on the field at Washington State. He did it with Cam
Yeah.
Ward and John Mateer. And interestingly enough, like a week ago, Coach Dan Casey, who's fantastic, goes through a lot of different plays and puts up examples of things he likes to see, creative things he likes to see, puts them up on Twitter. And what does he do a week before Texas? He puts up video of Ben Arbuckle having two quarterbacks in the backfield. And I was like, great, thanks, Dan. Here we go. So, but anyways, I expect to see something like that. And also, like, when it just comes to a game plan for Mike Hawkins Jr., of course, there's packages, there's a whole offense ready to be called if he were to play, because it would be coaching malpractice if not. You can't, know he's going into surgery and then just be like, well, hope John can go, because we don't have anything else planned. So I think there's wrinkles. I think there's things they practice with Mike that they like. I think there's things that they need to do to get the run game going, that they'll try and get going with maybe Mike, or again, maybe two quarterbacks at the same time. I think Ben Arbuckle knows this is a big game for him too. He's only coached a handful of games in the P4, and he's already on every graphic for UCLA and Virginia Tech and probably North Carolina soon. He's going to be on all these graphics to be hired as the next head coach. Well, if he goes and lays an egg against Texas, I don't know. He might be erased from those graphics, which is maybe what Oklahoma fans want in the long term. But I think Ben Arbuckle, it's his greatest challenge yet, and I think he knows that. I think he's going to be in his bag.
By the way, just on that front, spoke to some people around Arbuckle who's know the situation fairly well, and with the whole coaching thing. And I asked him, I said, his name gets thrown out there quite a bit for everything. And this person, exact quote, from he's like 5 games into his being the OC at a place that he's wanted to be at for a good period of his life, as far as like just liking the team, growing up, following the team. He's 30 years old. He has a lot of time to become a head coach. That's probably the first thing on his mind. Now, granted, after the season, it's obviously going to heat up even more. But I just, would be shocked, particularly because he also has the same agent as one Brent Venables. So there's not going to be a lot of surprise around Oklahoma when and if he takes a head coaching job. So just throwing that little nugget out there for everybody as well that's worried about that type of stuff. Um, the OUD line versus the Texas offensive line. Is it as big of a mismatch as it seems? Just more so because of recency bias. The Florida game, I think, kind of expounds the situation more than it probably is because they gave up 6 sacks, in their last game to a team that had 3 total sacks coming into the game, by the way. But do you see it as just a huge, huge mismatch? That there's minimal chance that Texas can win. Do you think Arch is going to be happy feet the whole time, with the fact he's got R. Mason Thomas, Taylor Wine, David Stone, Grayson Halton, uh, everybody basically, Marvin Jones Jr. just, pouring down on him, Dominique Williams pouring down on him every play.
Well, here's the thing, Brandon. I think that's the question that's going to get answered on Saturday that we're all curious about is this as much of a mismatch as it looks? Because it does look like a mismatch. It does. It looks like the biggest mismatch in this football game. When you look at the way that Oklahoma's defensive line has played to this point, and you look at the way that Texas's offensive line has played to this point, this should be the Sooners' biggest strength on Saturday. Should be. This should be the area in which they are most easily able to exploit Texas's weakness because they are built to exploit it on that defensive front with David Stone and Jaden Jackson and Grayson Halton and Dominic Williams and Taylor Wine and Marvin Jones and R. Mason Thomas and PJ Adibawara and what have you, right? They're deep, they're talented, they're rife with NFL bodies in the defensive trenches. And there's no reason why over the course of the 60 minutes of football that we're going to see in the Cotton Bowl on Saturday, the Sooners shouldn't be able to whoop that Texas offensive line. That should happen. At least that's what conventional wisdom and conventional logic would suggest. But again, going back to the very first point I made in this podcast, it's about execution this weekend.
Yeah.
And this is the type of game, this is the type of matchup where it feels like every single year there's something that catches us off guard. There's something that we didn't quite anticipate that transpires. I mean, and you can go back to even last year, and that in retrospect, that game seems pretty rudimentary. Okay, Texas runs away. It is what it is. Oklahoma led that game 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, and they were stonewalling that Texas offense with Quinn Ewers down. They'd already picked off Quinn Ewers. Billy Bowman got him. And so, man, it's not always the case that everything is as it seems in this matchup. And so one of my greatest curiosities about this game is, can this Oklahoma defensive line take care of what we all, or I guess validate what we all feel like we see with that trench matchup?
Yeah, with me, it comes down to, the interior specifically, because, a lot of teams right now you can point to, and I think this is just based on it doesn't take somebody as big to play the position, and it's harder to find very, very large people with good feet that you can put on the interior. But a lot of people have good edge rushers, right? When you look at Michigan, they've got good edge rushers, not crazy through the middle, right? You've got Auburn, really good edge rushers, not crazy through the middle. I think that where Florida had success and where Oklahoma will have success is Oklahoma's strength of their defensive line. To me, R. Mason Thomas gets the shine for sure, but it's that interior defensive line, right? The way David Stone's playing right now, you're able to basically rest Dominic Williams and Jaden Jackson for 2 weeks ahead of Texas, right? And not to mention the Grayson Haltons and everybody that's behind them, but you've got so many bodies, and the interior of Texas's offensive line is really the issue. I mean, you look at left guard where, they couldn't have an answer, and then they put in a freshman tackle to play left guard, and he gave up more pressures in a half than anybody else gave up during the whole game. He finished with a 0.0 PFF pass blocking grade, according to the Texas media member that came on with us yesterday. Like, it's bad up through the middle, and I'm not sure Sarkisian knows who his best five are, and even if he's got somebody in the interior that he can rely on. So I think it's going to be up to Oklahoma to not get too greedy, to not, Brent Venables is going to want to dial up all kinds of crazy stuff for this. Only do it if you have to, right? You don't want to get so blitz heavy and so, get upfield so much that you're getting gashed in the run game, in the screen game, in things like that. You want to be able to still be assignment and gap sound while being aggressive. And I think you can have a lot of success with just your front four. I think you're going to be able to get a lot of pressure with your front four. I think you're going to be able to stop the run with your front four. So I think Oklahoma's going to try and limit explosives, little easy dump offs, little delayed runs, draws, everything like this. But I think the Oklahoma defensive line, especially on the interior, is going to have a massive day imploding that pocket that Arch wants to step up into.
Yeah, that's Travis, exactly. I've been talking about that all week. The interior, I think David Stone, Parker and I talked about this yesterday. Like, if we were going to pick two players that were just going to have breakout games or just big games in general, I believe Parker chose Jaron Kanik on offense and Gentry Williams, correct?
Yes.
And I said, I believe I chose David Stone. And who was my offense? Who was my offense, Parker? I don't remember. Did I even choose offense? I don't think I did.
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't think I did. Oh no, I did. Jade Knott. I said Jade Knott. But I chose David Stone because one, he is just getting better and better and better every week. It just seems like he's taking another step in his confidence. There is nobody that hates Texas on this team more than David Stone. Like, if you were going to find somebody that hates Texas, he's been vocal about it since he was in high school. His disdain for the University of Texas is deep. And this is really going to be the first time where he is going to be a fixture in this game. You add to the fact that he might be right now, outside of maybe his teammate, Jaden Jackson. Is he the best defensive tackle in the SEC right now? Is he playing the best out of everybody in the SEC right now? There's an argument to be made for that.
Yeah, he has a case.
Yeah, I mean, so like, you add those two just behemoths, and I don't know how anybody ever blocked him at IMG, by the way, but I don't think anybody ever did.
They
really,
didn't.
But, yeah,
they didn't.
I know they didn't. I know, but I mean, it's impressive. And if you're Arch Manning, you have to be looking at that, just watching the film, going, "This sucks." So now I'm gonna have to roll out. They're gonna break the pocket down from the interior. I'm gonna roll out. Oh, and by the way, there's this guy by the name of R. Mason Thomas waiting on me on the edge. And if I go the other direction, there's this 5-star and this other guy that already has 3 sacks by the names of Taylor Wine and Marvin Jones Jr. Just arms wide open, waiting on him. Come here, we'll give you a bear hug, brother. That's daunting. That is exactly why we asked the question, is this going to be the biggest mismatch? Because of what I just named. Like, that is scary if you're Arch Manning. And I was talking to Ian Boyd during the Behind Enemy Lines, and I brought up the names of the defensive line, and he just started shaking his head like, and I said, "Why are you shaking your head?" He goes, "Dude, what?" That's the fear of every Texas fan, was those guys you just named. And it's going to be a fun matchup. I think conversely, you flip it the other way around, and the tackles, Michael Fasusi versus Colin Simmons, or Derek Simmons versus Colin Simmons, the Simmons versus Simmons matchup. Are we not talking about that enough? Because I think that's going to play a big factor in this game as well. Huge. Not only that, Burks, obviously, right, on the other edge, like, they're loaded at edge. I'm just not so they have the interior D line the way Oklahoma does. Actually, I know they don't. To me, that's where Oklahoma may be able to, by running power football, ISO football, may be able to move the ball.
Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma's got the best interior defensive line in the country, I would say. Not
Yeah.
just in the SEC, but the country. And shoot, man, they got some pretty good defensive ends too. But so does
Yep.
Texas,
Yeah,
which
that's what I'm saying.
like Colin Simmons and Ethan Burke, those are good football players. Those
Yep.
have been productive football players over their college over the course of their college careers. So, man, Oklahoma isn't terribly deep at tackle right now. Injuries have kind of ravaged that position specifically. Jake
Mm-hmm.
Sexton, Jake Taylor, Isaiah Autry-Dent, all
How?
laid up, right?
Yeah.
And Howland doubtful
Yeah.
for this game with a high ankle sprain. And so I'm not like there's a lot riding on Michael Fasusi's performance and Derek Simmons' performance.
And they're by no means healthy themselves.
Yeah. And I mean behind those two guys, you got a decent swing tackle in Luke Baklenko. That's pretty much it, guys. So again, like you need 60 minutes of health first and foremost from Fasusi and Simmons, but you also need those guys to play their best football of the year. It will take nothing less.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And something that's going to help them out is going to be shortening the game. Oklahoma's got to be able to generate a run game to shorten the snaps, right? You don't want your tackles to have to hold up against those edges for an extreme amount of snaps. You want them to be able to, limit that a little bit, limit the opportunities for injury or fatigue, and limit the opportunities that Colin Simmons and Burks and Trey Moore, the talented transfer, all these guys get the opportunities for them to tee off on a John Mateer or a Michael Hawkins. So I think that, yes, Oklahoma's offensive line needs to show up. But why I'm enthused by that is against good competition, they have shown up. So you have 7 combined sacks you've given up between Temple and Kent State. Now you were rotating offensive linemen. Obviously, you had EPL and Foje in the second half against Kent State. In Temple, you were rotating a bunch. I get it. But against Michigan and Auburn, you combined to only give up 2 sacks. Derek Simmons just gave up his first sack against Kent State since his freshman year in college. He's been in college for like 10, it feels like. So when you look at that, like they're able to show up against Falk from Auburn, who's going to be a top 15 pick. Might be the best edge rusher in the country, right? He showed up, against Derek Moore of Michigan. These guys that are first round type talents. Jayshon Barham comes in the second half, tries to pull his arm Mason Thomas and say, look, I'm here, I'm coming on the blitz. And they were able to hold up. So our offensive line gives me a little bit of hope because they've showed up and showed out against the best competition. Now I know the defense has just prepared to a standard and they've been good against everybody, but the offensive line seems like maybe they play down to their competition a little bit. But if I had to pick games for them to play their best, it would definitely be against the best edge rushers. So what I saw against Auburn and Michigan gives me confidence going into this game against an absolute dog like Colin Simmons. You've got Burt, you've got Trey Moore, you've got dudes that can rush the passer. But I think Fasusi and I think Derek Simmons are going to have good games.
The other, I guess, biggest question for Oklahoma, just defensively, and I don't think, I wouldn't even call it a question. I just think seeing what obviously Cam Coleman was able to do against Oklahoma, and that was get behind, Cortland Guillory a few times. Anybody worried about Ryan Wingo and Parker Livingston?
I'm curious
behind?
to see how close to 100% Parker Livingston is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because
that was nasty. That
yeah,
looked really bad, by the way.
He hurt that knee against Florida. I don't question that he's going to be less than 100%. The question is how much less. He's a really good receiver, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really talented player. And so too is Ryan Wingo. DeAndre Moore's no slouch. So Arch Manning has weapons. And to me, this is a trend that has reared its ugly head a little bit too often thus far this season. And that's Oklahoma cornerbacks letting guys get behind them.
Yeah.
specifically. You saw that in the Auburn game. You saw that in the Kent State game. You saw it previously, but particularly these last two games, Auburn and Kent State, it's happened with undesirable frequency. And so, look, you're past the point in the season where you're going up against quarterbacks that will miss opportunities like that. Say what you will about Arch Manning. If one of his receivers gets a step on an Oklahoma cornerback, odds are he's going to hit the shot.
Yeah.
And so, man, like, especially in a game like this, where to Travis's point, it's probably going to be a ground and pound slugfest for the most part. Both teams going to make an effort to lean on their defenses and shorten the game. You have to minimize explosives. You cannot allow explosives because those genuinely have the propensity to change a game like this. One play and one play alone. So, man, that can't happen. And that's something you're going to have to be mindful of when you're dealing with big play threats like Ryan Wingo and Livingston specifically, as well as DeAndre Moore.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was touching on earlier when I trusted the front four to get pressure without the added blitz, without the added bodies coming. Because one of the ways that Oklahoma let those wide receivers get behind them was by putting them on islands, right? And, I think Cortland Guillory is a star. I think he's growing into a really good player. He's shown it early. All the camp ravings have been paying themselves off early. But sticking him on an island with Cam Coleman all game, all first half. Maybe Brent wants that back, possibly. Obviously, there were adjustments made in the second half, but it's kind of that gamble you take, right? The more you send at the quarterback, you're just hoping he doesn't have enough time for those routes to develop downfield, right? But if your front four can get pressure, you can have coverage sacks. You can keep your safeties back and help with kind of hold down those explosive plays. Obviously, Ryan Wingo. I know it's still pains at least one person on this panel that Parker Livingstone never got that Oklahoma offer. But
yes,
they're talented wide receivers, but with the interior, Sark is gonna have to move Arch Manning. He's gonna have to get him on the run because he's not going to be able to stand in against that interior pressure and deliver ball after ball. If Oklahoma can get pressure with the front four and can have good, solid coverage on the back end and not leave corners on islands all day with a guy like Ryan Wingo, because they will hit on them. They're going to hit for a deep play if you leave those guys on islands. It's just when you go up against talented dudes, that's what happens to you. So I would hope that Brent doesn't get too aggressive trying to constantly heat up Arch Manning and end up paying for it on the back end when you might be able to create 90% of that pressure while double and tripling your coverage.
the last time Gentry Williams was 100% healthy during OU Texas, the very first play of the game, he picked off Quinn Ewers. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Obviously.
Anybody remember it? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like how he played in this game. Obviously, last time he was healthy, he understands the game, as Parker talked about last night on our live. Eli Bowen's been through it already. You have to like just getting him back, as it's already been talked about, but I think you're going to see a good dose of those two. I really do. I'm not saying you're not going to see Cortland Guillory, because I think you will. I just think they're going to minimize putting a true freshman out there in this environment this early in his career, or at least, as you talked about, the very least putting him on an island, Parker. And Travis, obviously, putting him on an island this early in his career. I can't foresee Brent going, you know what? We're going to do this all over again and see if he learned his lesson versus Auburn. You're not going to win that battle. And as you talked about, Travis, like the first thing I thought whenever I asked that question about Parker Livingston was, all that dude wanted was an OU offer.
Yep.
And he never got it. He never got it. And if anybody wants to get back at Oklahoma, it's Parker Livingston. It's Parker Livingston.
Well, Well, I don't know that's entirely true. I think the guy that he most likes to get back, most would like to get back at, coaches elsewhere in the SEC right now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get you right back to the video, but first I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors. I know some of you are looking for tickets for this weekend's OU Texas game. If not that game, I know some of you Sooner fans want to check out some of the SEC games that are still left on the home slate, whether it's Missouri, LSU, or Ole Miss. Heck, some of you guys are even looking forward to the SEC title game potentially with OU starting off so hot, which is why I want to give a huge shout out to one of our sponsors, SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 ticket app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. SeatGeek is also the official ticket marketplace of the Oklahoma Sooners, so all Sooners tickets on SeatGeek are authentic and secure. I love using SeatGeek. I use it for Shane Gillis, Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, even the professional basketball team in Oklahoma City as they made a run at the title. SeatGeek is not just a place to buy tickets, but it's also a place to check and make sure you're getting a good deal on your purchase. So if you're wondering if you're spending too much or being overpriced on your ticket, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is backed by a scale of 1 to 10, and then green dot means good, red dot means bad. You will know if you're being overpriced or if you're getting a good deal. After I say all those cool features about SeatGeek, of course, OU Insider has a code for you guys. You can use Insider10 for 10% off on your next purchase on SeatGeek. That's 10% off any ticket with the promo code Insider10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and to have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it for later. Thank you, SeatGeek.
Starkville, Mississippi, Brandon.
No, fair
And
enough.
he'll get an opportunity to
Yeah,
show him
fair
up
enough.
later this year.
Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. It's just that was a big miss. That was a big eval miss. There's not very many people that are built like him that can run as fast as he can.
Oh man, and you could see it in high school. I
Yeah.
watched a lot of Parker Livingston in high school. He was awesome.
Yeah. Crazy, crazy, crazy miss there. Anyways, um, I do think in the grand scheme of things, the fact that you have Peyton Bowen and you have Robert Spears Jennings on the back end is not just a big plus, a major plus for the University of Oklahoma as far as when it comes to deep shots that Texas is going to take. Those are two. You don't want to. I think the word elite gets thrown out a lot, but they're as close to elite as you can get as far as college safeties go. They're really dang good. And again, much like Gentry Williams, the last time Peyton Bowen was fully healthy coming into this game, he played out of his gourd. And ironically, this was a game he got injured in. That play where he forced a fumble versus Quinn Ewers. It's where his shoulder got injured, but he knows how to play in this game, and it means a lot to him being a Texas kid. So, I look at all these. I look at just as a whole. I think Oklahoma's defense is going to cause more problems than Texas defense, and I think Texas's defense is elite. By the way, I think when you're going tit for tat, and yeah, you can look back at the Florida game and say, are they really elite? I get that. I get it. I think what they proved against, yes, a young Ohio State, Julian saying, I get it. That was his first game. But they've played well all season outside of Florida. And I don't think OU's offensive line is as good as Florida's. So that's, to me, where the biggest worry comes from, honestly.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think, I think it's I think we've been here pretty much our whole lives, looking at Oklahoma versus Texas. The story
Yep.
is always the same. Texas has a lot of talent. They've always had a lot of talent. Let's see if they can realize it and put it together. And, we keep on looking at the Florida game. We have no choice but to look at the Florida game as it's the most recent version of Texas. And that, you're always going to be going against the most recent version of that team, right?
Yep.
And you brought up the Ohio State team or the Ohio State game, excuse me, saying put the ball on his wide receivers' hands repeatedly.
Yeah, they
Jeremiah Smith
dropped
had
him.
multiple drops.
Yep.
You can't count on that. Their tight end had a big drop on third down. Like Texas's defense had, and many have, Oklahoma's has benefited from drops by the other side a lot. So, while I think they're unbelievably talented, they've recruited at an elite level. I think getting Malik Muhammad is helpful. Obviously one of the best defensive players, secondary players in the country. Getting him back is helpful. I think that's one of the reasons Florida was able to hit on some plays in the passing game without him. It'll be interesting to see how close to 100% he is, because in those positions where you have to react in coverage, I think that's a little bit different, right? Like we always talk about wide receivers, you are dictating where you're going, right? Corner, you are reacting, and that is different when you're having to do that off of an injury. So I'll be interested to see how he looks in this game. But I think while Texas has a ton of talent, I think they've shown some holes. I think that the defensive line can be pushed around a little bit in the run game. I think that Colin Simmons is has got a little Micah Parsons in him. While he's a fantastic pass rusher, I don't think that he's great in the run game compared to how good he is as a pass rusher. I think you can get some things done there. Now, Oklahoma's run game, if it shows up, it's going to change the game. I mean, I'd love to see Mateer or Hawkins have a day much like Dylan Gabriel had in 2023, where he gashed Texas on those delayed runs, things like that, those design quarterback runs, even just scrambling up the middle. I mean, you look down and saw Dylan Gabriel just streaking up the middle of the field. In that big one that we all are thinking about right now as we listen to this, Hawkins and Mateer probably score. Hawkins definitely does. So when you start to look at that, how many opportunities are going to be there for John Mateer or Michael Hawkins to break something off down the middle? But I'm really looking at Malik Muhammad's health. I'll be interested in that because he changes their defense for sure. And then I'm going to see, what they can do in the run game against a Texas defense that isn't quite as good against the run as I think we had all expected going into the year.
I tell you, Oklahoma's going to have to find some traction, some rhythm with their traditional run game, because when you go back to that 2023 game, Dylan Gabriel he had the best rushing performance of his career at Oklahoma, at least in that football game. But that was on the heels of an early season stretch for Oklahoma in which their primary threat on the ground had been Tawi Walker. And Tawi himself had a pretty nice game as well. He scored 2 touchdowns that day. But kind of deviating from the norm, kind of deviating from a lot of what was on tape is where Oklahoma found success on the ground that day against Texas. Here's what Oklahoma has put on tape to this point in the season. Particularly when you rewind to that Michigan game, there's a lot of John Mateer. There's a lot of quarterback run game that Oklahoma has leaned on because, they had to kind of do the same thing against Auburn too because, man, the backs have not been able to consistently find a rhythm. And Torrey Blaylock had good games against Illinois State and Temple, no doubt about it, but that's Illinois State and Temple, man. When you've had to go up against the big boys, i.e. Michigan and Auburn, what the Sooners have done, and really the only medium by which they have found success is running John Mateer. And so what's going to be pivotal for Oklahoma this Saturday is that somebody other than John Mateer can get it going on the ground. The Sooners can lean on the traditional run game and start to find some success, because I don't know that you want John Mateer carrying the ball 20 times in this football game for multiple reasons, right? But I don't know that what worked against Michigan is going to work against Texas. You're going to need Blaylock or Jaden Ott or Xavier Robinson or somebody, right, to have their best game of the season, I believe, in order to establish the type of offensive balance and consistency that you're going to need in order to sustain drives, shorten the game once again, and ultimately put enough points on the board to win.
Yeah, look, I said it last night. I think Jaden Ott's going to be a major, major piece in this game. They are, from everything I've heard, ever since he has figured it out in practice, they're trying to find ways to get him in a rhythm. And I think they lean on that more and more as the season moves on. And I think Texas is another stepping stone to where I think you'll see him get probably between 10 and 18 touches, something to that extent. And they'll do it in the passing game, little quick game and all that type of stuff, just like they did against State. I mean, they're going to try to get him going. They need to get him going. He's the most, and I don't want to undermine anybody on the team. I think Taylor Tatum is undoubtedly probably the most talented back on the team, but he's also the least mentally tough kid on the team as far as just what he's been through right now. I know that's a strong statement, but it's true. He's I don't know that he loves football. And that is a big deal right now. As much as I love the kid, I just don't know that he loves football. And you're seeing it play out in real time in how he hasn't touched the field. I think Blaylock is up there, but I think Jaden Ott just probably the most versatile of the backs as far as what you can do with him in the passing game and in the run game. And then I think power-wise, I think they'll probably throw X out there a little bit from what I'm understanding. Like if they're going to go power, you're going to see X out there. I'm actually shocked how little you see Javonte Barnes lately. I'm not saying you're not going to see him because I think there's a chance, but they had every opportunity to try to get him going against Kent State, and they didn't. They didn't at all.
Yeah, I think Javonte Barnes's contributions are largely going to be in pass blocking situations. Yep. Like he's the best pass blocker on the team.
Yeah.
And you're definitely going to need that Saturday. So I use the word trust a lot. I just think they trust him. So I think you trust a guy like that to, hit his blocking assignments, to be able to hold up against the blocking assignments, right? To not get John Mateer or Michael Hawkins killed back there. I think that, and that's always something that you kind of have to, work freshmen into and young players into. Javonte Barnes is good at it. So I think you're going to see him a lot. But, I think back to, some of the Tom Brady teams, especially in 2020, whenever they kind of basically abandoned the run and went full spread offense, right? Like that's what I'm thinking. Because every week we get up here, right, and we say they've got to get the run game going. They got to get the run game going. They got to get the run game going. And they haven't so far, but theoretically, so far, so good, right? You haven't beaten your Texases and Alabamas and LSUs without it. I get it. But you've beaten your Auburns and your Michigans, and you ran the ball when you had to, especially the Michigan game, the last drive of the game. You ran the ball. You bled 9 minutes from the clock. You kicked a field goal, and you were done for the night. So, like, with that, I don't really – yes, I'd like to run the ball, but I don't think it's like if Oklahoma doesn't run the ball for 200 yards, there's no way they win this game. I think you have to run that at all. Yeah. I think you have to run the ball to a level where your play action and your RPO game is effective. Whatever that bar is to make it a threat. Just like it's like a stretch five shooting the three. Like you just need them to respect the three ball and come out on you to open up the lane, right? Just respect the three ball. Like with this, just respect the threat of a run to a running back. So when John pulls it, he might have a lane, right? Or when John pulls it, he might be able to dump it over the line. Or when John fakes it, the play action actually makes the linebackers and safeties bite. So I'm not asking for the run production so much so as I'm asking for the run threat, the respect of the run threat. And if Oklahoma can develop that, I think you're going to be fine offensively.
For sure. Before we get into our picks real quickly, if you're not a member or subscribe to this YouTube channel, it's free. If you're not subscribed to our podcast platform, it's free. Subscribe. Give us a like, give us thumbs up, give us 5 stars. We thank you so much for watching this podcast each and every week with us or listening to it, whatever you're doing or whatever you're listening or watching on. If you're not subscribed to OU Insider VIP, make sure you're subscribed to OU Insider VIP. If you're a college student, whether you got a .edu email, if you're a teacher with a teacher's account, if you're active duty military, make sure you email us ouinsider@rivals.com from your active duty military, from your teacher's account, from your .edu. It doesn't matter where you go to college. You can go to Timbuktu University. We'll send you a promo code from ouinsider@rivals.com email. Then make sure you guys go over to ouinsider.com. You sign up. Boom. You will get OU Insider for $1 a month for the first 3 months. It's a heck of a deal. It'll get you all the way through National Signing Day and dang near through the playoffs at this point. So give us a try. We think you'll like what you'll see. If you're not one of those, go to ouinsider.com. You can sign up using the green button. We will give you OU Insider for $1 for the first week. Plus, you'll get The Athletic complimentary on from OU Insider and On3 for a whole year. That's a 2-for-1 deal. It's awesome. You can go month to month with us, or you can go a full year. Either way, we give you a 2-for-1 deal, and you get the first week for just $1. Give us a try. It's easy to cancel. If you want to cancel, it's one click, all that type of stuff. So make sure you join us over at ouinsider.com. All right, boys. This is a huge, huge week of college football. It's a massive week, much like 2 weeks ago. There's lots of ranked games going on, lots of top 15 matchups going on this week. Isn't it weird how OU Texas week is always that big week of college football? And I know they do it on purpose, but it's just kind of funny how it works out that way. First game, Alabama at Missouri. That is, I'm trying to see what the spread is. I believe Alabama is favored
by 3.5.
3.5.
51.5 is the total.
Yep. 4-1 Alabama going to 5-0 Missouri. Missouri's looking to kind of get the monkey off their back as far as beating hugely ranked teams at home. They've been close, like with Georgia and a couple other teams over the years, but just always kind of slips away from them at the end. Do you think the Fighting Eli Dorkowitzes can win?
I have Alabama going.
I do like Eli. I just think it's funny to call him that, by the way.
I have Alabama going on the road and getting this one done. I think Ty Simpson's playing better than any quarterback in America right now. And I've got a little bit more trust in Alabama and Simpson than I do in Missouri and Bo Pribula. That makes all the difference to me. I'm going with the Tide.
Yeah, I think Alabama's more battle tested to this point. Obviously, the early loss to Florida State kind of sent shockwaves throughout that whole state and that whole program. They've been on fire ever since. I mean, going and winning at Georgia is an environment that, Mizzou, even with their renovation and their 5-0 record, it's not like going down in between the hedges and winning a football game against Kirby Smart. And then you look at what they did against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was a sexy pick by a lot of people, but Alabama they covered a pretty large spread, won that game by 16, and it was never really in doubt. They outrushed them, they outpassed them, they had less penalties, they had like 9 more first downs, they had less turnovers. I mean, it was everything that Vanderbilt, while a good story, were not up to the task of Alabama, and I think that's what we're going to get from Missouri. A good story with a 5-0 record against largely nobodies. Yes, South Carolina, but Lenore Sellers was kind of getting back into the swing. Wasn't the rushing, a weapon that we're used to him being and saw him just this past week be. But I think Alabama gets it done, and I think they win by a touchdown. I will say I think the best bet on this game isn't necessarily the spread. I think both these offenses are going to put up points. I think the over on 51.5 is the best bet of the day.
So, man, I'm I'm going to sound stupid here, but actually, if it wasn't a morning game, I would probably pick Missouri if it was a night game in Columbia. I've been there at night. I've seen it. This is even back down to 2010 when OU went there with Landry Jones, ranked number 1 in the country. I was in the stands. That place can get quite ruckus. Their fans are crazy. However, it's an 11 a.m. kick. I think that ruins a lot of the environment there. It's not going to be as ruckus as it could be if it was a night game. There's something about night games in some of these stadiums that just change a lot of just the factors and everything that plays into the ball game in general. So yeah, I'm going to take Alabama because I don't think it's going to be as daunting as people think just because it's an 11 a.m. kick. I think that kind of leads into Alabama. That and Ty Simpson is playing out of his gourd right now. Like he is really, really good. And I think, you know, he's up for the Heisman, if not the leader right now. But we'll see if John Mateer has anything to say about that after this weekend. Ohio State at Illinois. Look, I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm taking Ohio State by a lot.
Hard not to take Ohio State. They're just an all-around better football team in every facet. Illinois is good. Illinois is not great. Ohio State's a great team.
Yep. Ohio State wins and covers.
An interesting game for me. 4-2, NC State at number 16, Notre Dame. I don't, to me, that's an upset potential. I'm going to take Notre Dame, but I really, really feel like this has a chance to be one of those games this week. Like if there is an upset, this could be it.
Is it an upset if NC State wins that game? Is it much of an upset?
Yeah, they're 4-2 versus
Well,
3.
that's
I guess
that
that's
spread
fair.
is crazy. That's Notre Dame favored by 22.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts. Especially because Notre Dame has not played some great football yet this year. Man, I would take Notre Dame just because again, I tend to go with the team I trust more often
Yep.
than not. But man, I think NC State covers. I think that's a much closer game than Notre Dame minus 22.5. That's a little wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, I love Dalen Smothers, Hollywood Smothers as much as anybody. Obviously, he's having a great year. Has led NC State in every game in rushing so far. Has gone over the century mark 4 separate times. He's having a great year, but he's going to be the second best running back in this game, and for that reason, I'm picking Notre Dame. NC State, while starting the year fine, they've been on a bit of a slide. Obviously, they just beat the Campbell Camels big, but losses to Virginia Tech and Duke, not fantastic teams this year. I like Notre Dame to win this by multiple scores.
So number 7, Indiana at number 3, Oregon. I mean, do you all think Indiana has even a legitimate chance here at all? I'll go last.
If this game were being played in Bloomington, I would give Indiana more of a chance. It's being played in Eugene. I still think Oregon is top to bottom a much more talented roster than Indiana is. And they've come a long way in Kurt Cignetti's year and a half there, no doubt, but they're not ready yet to compete with a team of Oregon's caliber. And so I like the Ducks to win and cover the 7.5.
Yeah, I like Kurt Cignetti as much as anybody. I will always recall all these OU fans saying that we needed to fire Brent Venables and go hire Kurt Cignetti because Google me, all I do is win. And then they just thought, oh, well, that's all I need to know. And then basically last year they walked through an easy Big Ten schedule, a very easy Big Ten schedule, and then ran into the first ranked team they played, and Ohio State broke one off in them. And then it was just the one loss. You get to the playoff first round, you get beat by double digit again. I just think Kurt Cignetti is a great story. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's got good assistants. I think he's got good players. But I'm going to need to see him actually beat a really good team before I start believing that he can do it on the regular. Oregon, I think, covers the 7.5 comfortably.
I totally agree. I think this is going to be an absolute ball beating, if you will. But they don't even play. The crazy thing about Indiana is after the Oregon game, guys, they don't play a ranked team the rest of the year. They have another
Hey,
easy schedule. Penn State was
yeah,
supposed to be that team, right? They are not.
yeah. Indiana's going to end up back in the playoff as a one-loss team, and they're going to get housed by whoever they play in the first round. And then we'll do
True.
this again next year.
Next year, they're going to be even closer to turning the corner, though. I do believe that.
You talking about Indiana being better?
I'm talking about Indiana being like a legit
Yeah,
playoff team as opposed to a product of a weak schedule.
yeah.
We'll
So
see.
Arkansas at Tennessee. This is an interesting game. Obviously, Sam Pittman was just fired. Uh, Tennessee's been hot. They are 4-1 this year. Can the Hogs go and the fighting Petrinos go in and upset Tennessee?
Look, Petrino's going to surprise somebody at some point. Like that Arkansas team is going to win a game at some point this year that they shouldn't win. It won't be this weekend in Neyland Stadium. I like Tennessee and Joey Aguilar to get that one done. Win and cover for the Vols is my prediction.
Yeah, I think with Arkansas, Bobby P is coaching to remove the interim tag and take over as head coach. He's got as good a chance as anybody to do that, but that still doesn't change his defensive personnel. You can fire Travis Williams, defensive coordinator. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, you can fire a bunch of defensive staff members. That doesn't change that your defense is awful. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't doubt that you're going to score points, but Joey Aguilar is going to have a massive game against that defense. And I think Tennessee wins and covers.
Yeah, I got Vols easy. Florida just beat Texas. They're traveling to Kyle Field, College Station, to play number 5 Texas A&M. 6 p.m. kick, so it's going to be another night game in College Station. I don't know how they always get night games, and Oklahoma always gets 11 a.m., 12 p.m. kicks. Is what it is. Back to Big 12 days, I guess. But I'll take. Billy Napier has 9 lives. And at some point in time, Texas A&M has to start their descend to 8-4, 9-3, as usual. I'm going to take the Gators.
Wow. I tell you, man, this A&M team looks formidable.
They are. They look really, really good. That was a ballsy pick by me, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand on it.
And maybe I would feel differently if this game was being played in Gainesville because obviously the Gators, they got Texas last week down in the swamp. But in the comfort of Kyle Field, I like A&M. I can't pick against A&M. Florida to me is still a team with a lot of holes, a lot of flaws. They played a good game last week. I don't see that performance being replicated to a sufficient degree to be able to get them past the Aggies this weekend.
We'll get you right back to the video, but first I want to thank one of our sponsors, Refine You Med Spa. Achieving a healthy weight can be challenging to do on your own, but you're not alone. The skilled team at Refine You Med Spa offers treatments that complement weight loss goals and long-term weight loss support, so you achieve a weight that supports good health and self-esteem. You can achieve your ideal look and feel with Refine You state-of-the-art practices that offers a diverse selection of aesthetic treatments, providing services that benefit every body shape and skin type. Whether you got skin tags, sunspots, whether you want to lose weight around your midsection, they offer the P shot, the O shot. Whether your girlfriend or fiance or wife loves Botox, lip filler, Daxify, all that type of stuff, laser treatments as well, skin tightening, skin surface treatments, all of that. They have that for you at Refine You Med Spa. You can do that with like a gift card. I use those all the time for my wife at Refine You Med Spa. It's a great, great gift, whether it's Christmas, Valentine's Day, anniversary, birthday, what have you. Refine You Med Spa has also been the #1 rated med spa in Oklahoma City by 405 Magazine for the past 6 consecutive years. They don't sell procedures. They sell results. So make sure you give the team at Refine You a call at 405-849-5391 or go to refineyouokc.com to set up a free consultation.
Yeah, here's the thing. Kyle Field, I think we've always talked about, it's a great environment, great environment. But just like Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler said in the back of that SUV with a couple of red Solo cups, it's a great environment, but it is an intimidating environment. Their home evening record would show that it's not. They don't have a fantastic home night game record. This isn't an LSU night game situation where it's just heavy on one side of the seesaw. And I also think while I don't think Florida's figured it all out, I think they said, hey, look, we need to start running the ball with our great running back. We need to start doing that now. So I think they're going to do that a little bit more. I think the defense is going to play with a little more confidence after cratering that Texas offensive line. I also think that DJ Lagway finally realized that if he stops throwing it to the other team, you can win more games. So I think that light bulb may have come on. With Texas A&M, I like Marcel Reed, but I think he's a bit of a yards after catch merchant, if you will. I think Casey Concepcion, I think Terry Bussey, I think Mario Craver, I think they catch slants and crosses and things and then just burn dudes. And I get that. But Marcel Reed puts the ball in danger often, and he hasn't had to pay for it as much as he probably should. I look for Florida to capitalize on a couple of turnovers and get the win in College Station.
Wow, Parker's the only A&M guy. All right. All right. Two more before we go to OU and Texas. Michigan at USC. I will take Michigan. I'm just going to get that out of the way. I'll take Michigan.
Yes, I'm also taking Michigan.
I think that Michigan defense is going to shut down the USC offense. As great as Lincoln Riley is, as mastermind, I also don't think that they're ready. Like USC is not ready for the daunting schedule that is the Big Ten. It hasn't been the mecca of college football. It's been the blunder of college football over the last few years, and I think it continues to be that.
Yeah, I mean USC favored in this game, surprisingly, but maybe they saw the graphics that said it's a sellout when we all know Michigan is the reason that they're selling out that game. Much like the Chargers, when you sell things out in LA, it's often with the home fans looking to get a little vacation in LA. But I think Bryce Underwood wins the day. I think that he continues to grow, develop, show why he's the $10 million man. And I think Michigan comes out with the win.
All right, one more. Georgia at Auburn. Let me just say this. Auburn had a bye week. Auburn has done this 1,000 times. They lose games they shouldn't and win games they lose games they shouldn't, they win games they shouldn't. At some point in time, Auburn's roster being what it is going to win them a ball game that right now at their two-loss version of themselves shouldn't. I'm picking War Eagle over the Dogs.
Man, you're upset happy this week.
I am.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
It's voodoo, man.
Auburn is just
night game.
They're too inefficient a football team. They're too sloppy of a football team. Kirby Smart in Georgia, this is the type of program that's going to take a buzzsaw to a team like Auburn. I don't think this game is particularly close.
Yeah, it's funny. We've seen Jackson Arnold play. It's Cam Newton night at Jordan Hare. It's a night game. Great environment. Big opponent coming in. One that might have a little bit more talent than you. What did he do in that game last year when Tennessee came to town in a hyped environment? He started throwing the ball backwards. He turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, and he got benched at halftime for Michael Hawkins Jr. My bold prediction of the week is that Jackson Arnold turns the ball over multiple times in the first half and is benched for Deuce Knight in this game.
Okay, fair enough. OU Texas, 2:30 kickoff, Red River shootout. 3-2 Texas versus 5-0 Oklahoma. All three of us have John Mateer playing.
Yeah.
I pick Oklahoma 24-20.
Wow. Feels like at that point, you're going over the projected points total, 24-20, if that's the final. I think this is going to be a really low-scoring football game. I think it'd be the lowest-scoring Red River shootout that we've seen since 2009 when Texas won 16-13. I think the final score of this football game, gentlemen, is 19-17 Oklahoma, decided on a Tate Sandell field goal in the final seconds.
Dude, if that really plays out that way, I give up and just say you've got some sort of voodoo in you. I don't know what it is.
So I'm thinking, what I've been saying all week, really all year, what a lot of people have been saying. This is going to come down to defense and special teams. Simple as that. So also penalties. I think Texas, when you look at the Ohio State game, penalties were extremely costly to them. Texas is currently 129th in FBS when it comes to penalties per game accepted by the other team against Texas. That's going to rear its ugly head when that offensive line, who's already unsure of themselves, starts to get beat. What do you do when you start to get beat and you're panicking? You end up holding, you end up grabbing on. I think we see multiple penalties. I think Texas gets backed up, but I also think the punters are going to come into this. And I know it sounds goofy, but Oklahoma is third in punt average and eighth in net punt average right now, while Texas is 16th in punt average and 92nd nationally in net punt average. I think if it comes down to penalties, if it comes down to playing a clean game, I think if it comes down to field position, I think Oklahoma has the edge in those things. But also, you bring up Tate Sandell. He's been fantastic ever since the Michigan game. And then Mason Shipley, who Texas brought in from Texas State, had a little bit of a rough year last year. He's been fine this year, but he's only kicked 5 field goals, didn't kick any field goals in their 2 losses. But I think if it comes down to it, I think Oklahoma's got a little bit better of a field goal kicker. I think they've got a better punter. I think they are more disciplined, and I think they're better in the return game. Ryan Niblett's good. I think Isaiah Sategna's a little bit better. So I think those reasons are going to be why Oklahoma wins the ball game 20-13. I think Texas stalls out twice on the Oklahoma side of the field, kicks 2 field goals, scores another touchdown to get their 13. I think Arch Manning has the opportunity at the end of the game, much like Bryce Underwood did and much like Jackson Arnold did at the end of the game, to drive to win the game, and Oklahoma's defense shuts the door on them.
There you go. Well, that's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners pregame podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. Like, subscribe this YouTube, like, subscribe, give 5 stars on podcast. Go to OUinsider.com, sign up for all your VIP information, join the thousands and thousands of OU fans already over there right now. Community is awesome. It's fun. For Parker Thune, for Travis Davison, my name is Brandon Drum. You all have a blessed day.